You might have heard of Occam's razor before. This is a problem-solving principle that a lot of philosophers go by, which basically just means that the most simple explanation is probably the correct explanation. And in the modern world of health and biohacking and longevity, you're expected to go on some insane diet and take really expensive supplements and do some crazy regimen every day just to stay healthy. And in this video, I just want to teach you this one basic principle and how you can apply it to pretty much all areas of your life, but especially fitness and productivity and like testosterone and stuff like that. So going forward, just keep this in mind. The simpler, the better. Section 1, nutrition. Okay, so the first bit of advice that I'm going to give you is remove the word diet from your brain. Diet makes it sound like when you're about to change your nutrition, it's temporary, like a quick fix and not a change in your lifestyle, almost like a treatment to be completed or something like medication. We're not going on a diet here. If you really want to improve your health going into 2025, just remove this word out of your brain. From now on, you're just going to think, I am changing what I eat. I am just changing the kind of food that I consume. I'm not going on a diet for 6 weeks or 6 months. I am just changing how I eat as a person. So I was talking about Occam's razor at the start, and how does this apply to nutrition? Well, it's the exact same thing. The simpler, the better. So over the last 4 years, I have experimented with so many different eating styles and so many different diets. And out of all my experimentation and research, there's only been 2 things that I think that you really need to take away from this section of the video that is going to massively help you in terms of your diet going into 2025. So number 1, eat the least processed foods possible, preferably unprocessed foods like just meat and eggs and vegetables that come from the ground, and at a push, the kind of minimally processed foods like maybe some really good quality bread or pasta and rice and stuff like that. So again, Occam's razor, keep it as simple as possible. If you look on the back of your ingredients on the food that you're about to buy, and there is like 30, 40 different chemicals, preservatives, E-numbers, enzymes, right? All this different random stuff, don't eat that thing, or just don't buy that product from the supermarket. Just keep it as simple as possible. This is what I started doing a long time ago when I really started getting into kind of health, specifically in the biohacking space. I listened to a lot of podcasts. I was listening to a lot of Andrew Huberman and stuff like this on different chemicals. And I just really think limiting the amount of chemicals and basically processed foods that you eat is going to be highly beneficial. I'll go on later on in the video as to why specifically, especially when it links with like testosterone, and why it might be better to take these chemicals out and have the least ingredients possible. But I'm going to get onto that in the next section. So for now, just keep that as rule number 1. You're going to have the least processed foods possible. And rule number 2 for me, which is hugely beneficial for my health, my well-being, and my mind, is fasting, or more specifically, reducing the eating window that I have in my day. So for me, this is super simple. Just skip breakfast and don't have food until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then eat, 2 meals, like, kind of lunch, I guess, and then your last meal of the day at maybe 7 o'clock, right? And then that's it. You just eat for that time in the day. And I'm not saying this is intermittent fasting either. I just think fasting should be something that you should try in 2025 as a normal, regular thing that you do, not intermittently. You just don't eat in the mornings, I guess. Just lower your eating windows. I don't think humans are designed to be grazing like cattle all day, just eating food, constantly spiking your insulin throughout the entire day. I genuinely think having a lower eating window, from my experience, has been hugely beneficial in the way I feel, the way I can think. My mind is a lot sharper when I'm fasting. I often work in the mornings when I'm fasted because that's when I can concentrate the best. And yeah, I just think this is the second thing that you really need to keep in mind going into 2025. So that's the 2 rules for nutrition for me, is unprocessed foods and lowering your eating window. These are the only 2 kind of major levers that I've discovered from all my experimentation that have actually made a huge difference. Okay, so now that the Christmas period's over, I'm no longer binging out on alcohol and eating junk food like I was for the past 2 weeks. I've gone back into January now, it's 2025, and I'm back on my good way of eating. So what am I eating to be productive and feel good and go to the gym and be motivated and stuff like that? Well, for me, it's literally mainly just meats like pork and steak and beef and everything, fish, just meat essentially, and noodles, right? So I get these egg noodles from my local supermarket, and they have like 5 ingredients on the back. It's like egg and some flour and stuff like that, and like then that's literally what I get. They're like these ramen noodles, so they have like minimal ingredients. They're super cheap. They don't like taste very nice. They don't have any kind of seasoning or anything like that. They're literally just like egg ramen noodles, I guess. And I just put them in a pan, fry them around with all the meat once it's cooked, and that's literally what I eat, right? And yeah, maybe just try that going into 2025. That could be something that you could try as well. I'm not completely cutting out carbs like I did last year and going onto a carnivore diet. I am going to try and keep some carbs in there. And speaking of carbs is quite a tricky one for me, because when I eat quite a lot of carbs, if I have like a big bowl of pasta or something, I am very tired. I'm exhausted and I can't focus and do any work after I've eaten like a huge amount of carbs. But eating a lot of carbs does make me perform better physically, right? So when you eat carbs, it's going to replenish your glycogen stores in your muscles, right? Which is going to mean that you retain more water and you can perform better and you can perform for longer on exercises. Now, if your goal is to bulk up and build as much muscle as possible at the start of 2025, then yes, definitely still include carbs in your diet. I would just say keep them to the latter portion of the day when you're about to go to bed, because they're going to help you go to sleep, and they're not going to give you that kind of brain fog throughout the day if you have them on the morning, that huge insulin spike that comes with having carbs. Now, if you're like me and you just want to be productive, you kind of want to retain the muscle that you've got, maybe grow it a little bit, but you're not, the gym isn't your primary focus right now, and maybe you want to be more productive and work on your projects. If you've got clients or YouTube channel or whatever it is, you just want to be productive. I would suggest maybe cutting out carbs or having very, very minimal carbs and just solely focusing on meat, eggs, protein, and that kind of thing, and fats especially. I'll get on in the next section as to why we need to be including good, healthy fats in our diet. But yeah, keep it to just red meat, pork, steak, fish, eggs, maybe some like nuts here and there, that kind of thing. There's some healthy fats in nuts. And just keep it very simple like that. That's what I do anyway. In case you could call that a keto diet. Yeah, if that's keto, then that's keto. And then I have the egg noodles in there, which they are a carbohydrate, but they have actually quite a minimal amount of carbs, and they don't have much protein either. They're like just kind of a filler food, if that makes sense. They don't have much nutritional value to them. I guess they're mainly probably made of like water, but it's just to add something to the meal, so I'm not like just eating meat constantly all day, if that makes sense. It's like a nice bed to kind of put your meat on. It's just so, that sounded awful. It's kind of a nice, you can just have the bowl of noodles with the beef or the steak or whatever in it, right? So why is it that I think that this advice works so well when it comes to nutrition? Well, for me, anyway, personally, when I've done this, and from all the research I've done, a lot of other people find this beneficial as well. When you can fast and, I guess, eat unprocessed foods, just, clear out all the junk, it has this effect where the fasting that you do, or the lowered eating window that you have, allows your body more time to clean out all of the junk that has been accumulating from all of the chemicals and the really processed, ultra processed foods you've been eating for so many months and years. All them chemicals and that junk gets filtered out when you're not eating, when you're not adding anything else to the system. Your body kind of has this additional time, almost like the garbage trucks going around on the street of your cells and stuff, right? Taking all the rubbish out of the cells, flushing your body out. And that is kind of what happens when you're on a fast. And then when you combine that with eating unprocessed foods, right? Just meat, eggs, keeping your meals the most simple as they possibly can be. Making a meal that is 2, 3, 4 ingredients, like noodles, beef, and then salt and pepper, right? Like just keeping everything super simple, really low amount of ingredients, very unprocessed, very natural ways of eating. Then you replacing the kind of junk that you've been accumulating in your body with just like really easily digestible proteins, amino acids, and I guess some carbohydrates. And your body doesn't then have to process additional junk and chemicals and things like that and metabolize all that stuff into all the downstream kind of processes. And that just allows you to feel better mentally and physically as well. I mean, think about it. It's all about the fuel that you put into your body. Like, you put fuel in a car or a truck, right? If you put the wrong fuel into your car, if you put diesel in your car and it's a petrol, then it's not going to work. Your body's the same. It's a little bit more lenient on what fuel you can put into it. But you want to be putting the right fuel into your body, or else your body's not going to function as it should. It's not going to function to the capacity that you can function to your potential. And the last thing I want to talk about is the healthy, balanced diet that, you know, it's been taught to us in schools. It's not our fault that we're eating like this, or that you're eating like this. You're eating McDonald's every night, or you're going and getting a takeaway and buying all the cheap, very processed foods at the supermarket. It's not your fault that you're doing this. If you look at bread, for example, you might think bread would be a healthy kind of food to eat, right? If you look on the back of bread, there is genuinely like 20 or 30 ingredients in white bread. Whereas if you actually went online and looked at the recipe to make bread, it's like maybe 5-6 ingredients. So why is it that there's so many extra ingredients? Well, it's because it allows the bread to have like a certain texture, a certain color that people like, allows it to last longer, all this kind of stuff, which, yes, is nice for convenience and, you know, maybe it makes you want to buy it more, but that kind of stuff is accumulating in your body, and your body doesn't have any natural processes to deal with all those random chemicals. And yes, they're in small amounts, but if you eat this kind of stuff that we've been taught to eat in schools, you know, have most of your diet needs to be made up of grains and cereal and sugar and, you know, bread and carbs and wheat and flour and pasta. That's what, like, most of your diet should be made up of according to the food pyramid, right? Then all this kind of, imagine how bad you're going to feel. You're going to have so much insulin being spiked throughout the day. You're going to have so much brain fog, and you're just going to feel terrible. And yeah, throughout my whole life, this is what I've been taught in schools, and I think you've probably been taught the same, is this food pyramid. I think it's probably the biggest scam that is happening in our lifetime right now, the food pyramid, because I think it's probably one of the most unhealthy ways of eating that you could possibly do. Like, your whole diet being made up of starchy carbohydrates and complex sugars, and, you know, people don't understand these are just sugars, and your body just isn't designed to operate on just carbs and wheat and flour and like farming produce. Your body, and for, you know, the last 300,000 years of human existence, has primarily ran on meat and eating other animals. And this isn't something to be ashamed of, or, you know, to be sad about, that we're killing animals. I mean, other animals kill other animals to eat as well. This is nature. This is what happens in nature. Animals kill each other. They eat each other. So I don't fall for this idea that we shouldn't be eating meat or anything, because it's like we have some monopoly on, we're at the top of the food chain. We can very easily, that's nature, man. You know what I mean? So we've been designed to basically eat meat. And I think when people preach these diets like don't include any protein, I'll say protein specifically because obviously you can get protein from other places other than meat. But there is some, and I'll pull a graph up to show you as well, but there's some really essential amino acids that are only found in meat, and specifically red meat. And you can't get them from like nuts and pea protein and plant whatever, you know, you just don't, these specific compounds just don't exist. They only exist in red meat. And I think, yeah, it's things like the food pyramid where meat is like, it's near the top, so you should eat the least amount of meat, and it should be mainly just made up of like carbohydrates and cereal and healthy whole grains and porridge. And I just don't buy it. From all the research I've done, and I've done a lot of research into this, I've been very interested in, you know, the nutrition part of this. This is why this section of the video is going on for so long, but I do think this is so important. I think this is a huge scam to make companies extremely rich. Like these companies that sell these carbs and these big farms, right? And I genuinely think the kind of war on eating meat is mainly because of the whole climate change thing. And it's all kind of one big operation to just get people to gradually stop eating meat. And I think it's a huge scam, and I think people are becoming more and more unhealthy from not eating red meat. And I don't think there's anything wrong with eating meat. So my advice to you, if I was to wrap all that together and bring it all nicely into a package, is think about Occam's razor. Keep your nutrition extremely simple in 2025, okay? The least amount of ingredients possible, okay? the least amount of processed foods that you can possibly do. Now, I'm not saying you never need to have fun ever again. You know, if you're at a friend's party and they offer you some cake, eat the cake. I'm just saying don't go to McDonald's every night like I used to do back when I used to work as an estimator 4 years ago. I used to go to McDonald's every day for lunch because it was right around the corner from my work. I never brought a packed lunch into work. I always just went to McDonald's. It was so convenient. And I got so unhealthy from doing that. It was horrendous. So yeah, you know, still have fun, just keep it in moderation and try and make your day-to-day kind of foods unprocessed foods and fasting, okay? So lowering the amount of times that you eat in the day. I'm calling this fasting, but really I'm just saying don't eat like breakfast and then have a snack and then lunch and then another snack and then dinner and then a pre-workout snack and then a post-workout. I don't think humans are designed to be eating constantly throughout the day because you're constantly spiking your insulin and that is going to make you feel like shit. So if you really want to be focused, driven in 2025 and you want your diet to help you to do that, your nutrition to help you to do that, then just reduce the amount of times that you're eating food in the day, because then you can do all your work in the morning like what I'm doing now. I'm recording this video. This is going to be a long video and I want to be focused for it, but I want to do that in the morning when I haven't eaten yet. I've not eaten any food yet. And after this, then I can do some work and feel good about having done the work and then kind of reward myself with making some food. I've got some steak downstairs. I can cook that, put some ramen noodles with it, mix it together, done. So that is my advice going into 2025. Keep your nutrition extremely simple, fast, lower the amount of times that you're eating in the day, reduce the eating window of the day, keep all your ingredients. Very simple. So that's everything for nutrition. Now I'm gonna move on to testosterone. So section 2, testosterone. So men's testosterone levels have been decreasing for the last 30 years. So I'm gonna pull up a graph that's gonna show you over the last 2 or 3 decades, the actual decrease in men's testosterone production. Why is this happening? Well, there's loads of different theories. There's lots of different reasons why it could be happening, but I'm gonna provide some ideas as to why this might be happening now, and a lot of it links heavily with lifestyle choices and your nutrition specifically. So this section is going to be shorter than the nutrition section because the nutrition section was kind of the bulk of this video. If you can get a lot of the stuff that I talked about in the nutrition section right, then a lot of the other stuff in this video that I'm going to talk about is going to be sorted out for you automatically. But specifically on testosterone, why is this happening? So number one, probably processed foods. There's a lot of studies linking heavily processed and ultra processed foods with lower testosterone. And the reason is because eating these very processed foods tends to be very low in actual nutritional value. So whole foods are the foods that are, straight from the ground or straight from the animal, and they haven't been touched. Nothing's really been done to them. You can have, mildly processed foods or low processed foods, which are kind of like rice and pasta and stuff like that, and then you have the highly processed foods, which are like McDonald's and fries, and then you have ultra processed food, which is like gummy bears and food that doesn't even really look like food. And as you go up that processing that process of processing food, it becomes less and less nutritionally dense than when it was whole. And these foods, these ultra processed foods that people are eating more and more over the last 30 years, because they are less nutritionally dense, your body doesn't have the correct building blocks to create testosterone. And this is likely a huge reason that testosterone production has been decreasing in men, just because we don't fuel ourselves correctly. So again, to fix this, stop eating fast food all the time. Stop going out drinking, and then after you go and get drunk, you then go and get McDonald's, right? Like I have been doing for the past week because it's been Christmas. Don't go to the supermarket and buy like this pre-packed ready meal thing where it's like a burger that you just put in the microwave. It's not gonna work, it's too processed. So another reason why testosterone levels have been decreasing in men over the past 30 years is because the goalpost keeps getting moved. So what was considered a healthy, normal testosterone level 20, 30 years ago is not the same as what it's considered to be now. So what is now a normal amount of testosterone to have as a male used to be considered a low amount of testosterone to have 30 years ago. So people aren't getting treatment for having low testosterone. They're not getting prescribed any kind of testosterone supplementation to help them with low testosterone because it's considered healthy levels. But 20, 30 years ago, it was not considered healthy levels. So I've got a little theory, okay? And I think people have already probably come up with this before, but it's just an idea that could be a potential cause for the decrease in testosterone over the last 30 years in men. Remember when I talked about that food pyramid in the nutritional section where most of your food should be like with carbs and then, you know, veg after that and then meat and then, you know, dairy or whatever it looks like. It's basically just wrong, okay? It's upside down, it's incorrect, it's a scam. I think this food pyramid in conjunction with the goalpost of what is considered healthy testosterone being lowered over the years is probably a combined effort of various different kind of societal systems that don't really want guys, especially young men like you and me, to actually have high testosterone at all. And it would make complete sense why that is the case. Like, remember the last time that you had an amazing workout, especially if you were with like your gym friend or something, and you were there for like way longer than you're usually there for, like an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes, and you really push yourself, you really train really hard, you feel great, you feel amazing, you feel like you could take on the world, you feel unstoppable. And why is that? Well, when you physically exercise and lift weights, especially very, very hard, you actually induce a massive and sharp spike in testosterone, in serum testosterone levels, and that makes you feel great, right? Now imagine feeling like that, but just when you wake up in the morning. Imagine having super, super high levels of testosterone. You would be unstoppable. And what you definitely wouldn't be is a robot working behind a desk, typing away and just working like a good little robot, okay? I don't think society in general wants lots and lots and lots of men to have very high testosterone, because I don't think it would be conducive to having a productive workforce. I think it would be conducive to a lot of men going out there and trying to set their own businesses and trying to do their own thing and explore and travel. But I really don't think it's conducive to kind of operating a society where you have people just working behind desks and making lots of money for lots of big companies. It's just not conducive to that. So I genuinely don't think society wants men to have high testosterone. And I think that is maybe not the sole reason, but it's definitely one of the contributing factors as to why there is this food pyramid and there's so much shit in our foods and the doctors don't give a shit about testosterone. But I could be completely wrong. That is kind of just a theory that I've, I guess, come up with, but maybe it's completely wrong. I don't know. But there is a link, isn't there? There is a reason. There must be a reason why testosterone is going down so drastically and has been doing so over the last 30, 40 years. And there doesn't really seem to be any major attention on this or studies or anything to try and rectify it. People are just like, well, testosterone's going down, whatever. They don't actually like care. So, you know, maybe if I can give at least a couple people out there, draw their attention to this, maybe you can help sort your own testosterone levels out. Okay, so I've mainly covered why testosterone is dropping or why I think it's dropping, and it's mainly because of, again, ultra-processed foods, having a very sedentary life, okay, just sitting down and playing video games, the prevalence of technology, the prevalence of office jobs, right? I have a desk job, just sitting and being sat and not really moving, not really exercising, that is definitely contributing to low testosterone. And also just people being generally more overweight, a higher body mass index on average is definitely contributing to lower levels of testosterone. There's been a lot of studies on the link between people who are fat and having low testosterone. That's very well established by now. And I think those are probably the main three reasons why, honestly, that testosterone is going down. So now I'm going to tell you how you can sort out your testosterone levels going into 2025. Because remember, if you've sorted out your nutrition and you can help sort out your testosterone levels, these are the two kind of factors of your health and your well-being that is going to really help you to be driven, motivated, and just feel good going into 2025 and have a very productive year. Okay, so the number one thing that is going to help improve your testosterone in 2025, again, we're focusing on Occam's razor here. We're keeping everything very simple. Throughout this whole video, I want you to keep that in mind. The simpler, the better. So there's not going to be any crazy supplements that I'm going to give you here. There's not going to be any kind of insane regime that you need to do. It's going to be very simple. Number one, sleep, okay? Number one, the best way that you can increase your testosterone production is to get enough sleep. So 8 hours a night. Don't be staying up very late at night playing video games or scrolling through your phone, or watching Netflix, watching porn. Don't be staying up very late doing that kind of stuff. Just get to bed at 9, 10, 11 o'clock and wake up at 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Just get that 8 hours sleep, okay? And the testosterone that you actually produce is mainly produced in your body at nighttime, not when you're awake. It's mainly at nighttime. So the longer that you can be asleep for and have good quality sleep, the more testosterone you're going to produce. Very simple. It sounds very cliche, but that is the first tip that I'll give you, is just get enough sleep. Okay, the second one is a little bit more niche, and this is sunlight. Now, not a lot of people really talk about this, but testosterone is massively, massively impacted by UV radiation from the sun, specifically UVB radiation, which is mainly from the sun. If you went and got like light therapy or went to one of those tanning things where you stand in the UV thing and get a tan, that's going to be a different kind of UV, which doesn't actually trigger testosterone production. The UVB is, you can get those where it's UVB from like artificially, but the easiest way to get UVB is to go outside. Get outside, okay? Even if it's cloudy, even if it's raining, even if you can't see the sun, but it's daytime, there is that UVB coming through, because it's not like light, it's invisible. It just comes straight through the clouds. It's like invisible radiation. Obviously, if you live somewhere that's very sunny, I live in the UK and it's just terrible all the time. But if you live somewhere that's very sunny, obviously have the precautions, right? Wear sun cream, don't get skin cancer or anything like that. But get outside. Don't be spending your entire day sat at your desk. Like I'm sat at my desk today, I'm going to be working today. But I know a lot of people who would just do this all day and actually not go outside at all. I make an effort every day to get outside when it's daylight at least once a day, even if it's for 15 minutes, because that hit of UV is going to have two effects. One, it's going to help trigger testosterone production. Two, when you get that UV into your eyes, it's going to trigger a very specific photoreceptor cell in your retina. Maybe this is getting a bit too much detail, but essentially when this triggers, when this natural sunlight is in your eyes, it's going to trigger your circadian rhythm. It's like starting the stopwatch on your circadian rhythm. And when you have your circadian rhythm in line with the actual daylight hours of the day, that is going to massively help you to sleep. So my advice for this, my actionable advice would be every morning to get sunlight in your eyes, on your skin, first thing, okay? So it's the first thing you're going to do in the day is you're going to go outside. And the last thing is diet for improving your testosterone. Fats in particular. So a lot of people hear the word fats and they get scared. They don't like the word fats. They think it's going to make them fat. But you need to focus specifically on monounsaturated fats, which are the healthy fats, and the unhealthy fats are the saturated fats. So you can get these kind of fats from like red meat, from like fatty fish like salmon, from egg yolk. So these are the kind of foods that you want to focus on. But I already mentioned these foods in my nutrition part as recommendations from me anyway. So if you eat these kind of foods, especially like eggs, salmon, and red meat, that is going to be hugely beneficial to testosterone production, because you need to make sure you're not just eating lean foods and lean meat that has no fat in it, because that is actually going to have a big impact on your testosterone production, a bad impact on your testosterone production. So focus on having those healthy monounsaturated fats and avoid the saturated fats that are going to come from eating like cake and sugar and stuff like that. Section 3, improving your drive. Every time I've cleaned up my diet, fixed my sleep, and gone outside rather than running on the treadmill in my gym, every time I've done that, I have always seen massive improvements, specifically to my mental health. I no longer have the negative thoughts, the self-doubt, those limiting beliefs creeping in saying that you can't do this, you're not good enough. I always feel more motivated, and I genuinely think it's just from these kind of 3 things that I've spoke about in this video, okay? Keeping life simple, keeping your daily habits very simple, okay? Making sure that you get outside on a walk and getting fresh air and getting that sunlight. That is number 1. Making sure that you're fueling your body with very simple foods, unprocessed foods, and you're not having all this chemical junk and these enzymes and these E numbers and this random shit that's all accumulating in your body. And then just making sure that you get enough sleep and that you're not staying up all night and you're not, grinding hard all night and you just work until like 1 o'clock in the morning, but then you booked your sleep for the next day so that you can't do any work the next day, Just being sensible about things, keeping things simple. Remember I spoke about Occam's razor at the start of this video. When I just keep everything in my life simple when it comes to my fuel, my habits, everything, my routine, just keep it simple, keep it kind of natural. Think about it like you're just trying to be like a caveman or something, right? Just keep everything natural, don't overcomplicate it. When you've done that, and every time I do that personally, that is when I'm the most productive that I ever am. Like sometimes if your motivation is low enough, if you're stuck in a rut, especially going into 2025 when we want to start the year off fresh, right? If you're stuck in that rut, the difference between you doing nothing and doing something, that hump that you have to overcome just to get something done and start that video or start that project, whatever it is you want to do, might be having to change your entire diet. Because you might be now at the start of this year looking for the best business to start, or how do I get out of my job, or how do I get as big as possible at the gym, how do I become a content creator, how do I go travel the world. You might be wanting to do all this kind of stuff, and you're probably looking for all the different methods to do that and looking at the best business to start and everything, right? The best ways to make money. But genuinely, the best way to actually get to that point in life where you're doing that kind of stuff might just be the fuel that you're putting in your body. It's not something that you're thinking about, but you might just need to change your entire way of eating. Remember, not your diet, the way that you eat, the stuff you put in your mouth. You might just need to change that. And then once you've changed that and you focus on your health and the way you feel and the way that your brain operates, that is actually when you might be able to overcome that hump and start doing stuff, start being productive, start exploring, start, learning and trying new things. Like I've spoke about in yesterday's video. That might be what you have to do. So you are the machine that drives change in your life. No one else is going to do it for you. It's only you that can do it. So if you don't change yourself, if you don't help your mind, then you're not going to be able to change your focus. You're not going to be able to change your drive. And you're ultimately not going to be able to change yourself, okay? And then nothing will change in your life. So again, I hope these tips, I hope this whole video, this very long video has been helpful. But for 2025, I do think that one of your main priorities should be reclaiming your health back from the world again, reclaiming your testosterone back and reclaiming your drive. And I think if you can apply a lot of the ideas that I put forward in this video, especially Occam's razor, okay, keeping everything simple about your habits in your life and food, nutrition, I think that's going to have a huge, huge impact on what you can achieve this year. So thank you so much for watching, mate. I hope you found that video helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.